They appear to be. Quiet. That's it. That's it.
Well, I know of it.
So he smiles.
What is good about Iraq is not only you have regional investors that are very interested in Iraq, because for a long period of time, since let's say the invasion, since the Saddam Hussein toppling, the US came in 2003, there has not been any investment activities. While this is a very rich country with a lot of fundamentals that actually would trigger investment activities. So for us, it is easier to find deals and investors that are interested in Iraq than investors or people who are interested in a place like Afghanistan. Very little. There's not much wealth around Afghanistan, so it's very hard to kind of fish and find an interesting transaction private sector would take it, despite the issue of FCS. So Iraq is a very different dynamic, and this is where I would put the middle income countries versus the...
And we're going to start by again looking on that side of the river. I think everybody knows what that dome is, right? St. Paul's Cathedral, the Cathedral of London. It's a cool museum for modern art. But the interesting thing about it is this is an old power plant, right? That basically it's an old coal-fired power plant. It was decommissioned, and people were trying to figure out what to do with it, and they turned it into a museum. That's interesting because this is starting to happen in lots of other countries. And Shakespeare, the Globe Theatre that he was associated with, was actually one of 5 or 6 that went up, all but one in this part of London around the same period. And obviously, this was a very successful disruptive technology because London has become a home of theater ever since.
Risk-taking and trust. Today we were talking about new things, new approaches to our business, and I thought you really can only take risks when you trust that other people are going to be in that risk-taking with you and will protect what they can of those risks.
She is the room of the Palace of the Bishops of Winchester. The bishops, after Christianity came and the Normans settled in here, Winchester then became even more important, and the bishops came here and built this huge palace, of which this is the remains. So, this is here and all done up because this was, the Golden Hind was the ship of Sir Francis Drake. Drake was sent off by Queen Elizabeth to be the first to circumnavigate the world. And this is the ship, or replica of the ship, that was the first one to sail all around the world.
The last 10 years were really focused on China, and China, created these commodities and oil boom that now is crashing. So my take on this, but I do think that the price of oil and commodities will go back to the average of the previous 15-20 years, and that what we've seen now is just a bump.
What you have is Southern Cathedral. So the Harvard family chapel, because the Harvards were relatively well off, is a chapel inside this cathedral. If you go in, there's actually the Harvard chapel. So, John Harvard, as everybody knows, emigrated to Massachusetts Bay Colony and started a small school there.
I think the idea of really getting into the data, leveraging that, and getting a sense of exactly, for example, for small project, what does it take to make them profitable, or at least what does it take to choose them well? I like that idea.
And this is London Bridge. Right. So lots of interesting things to about London Bridge. I'll just point out a couple of them in terms of the history. So first of all, London Bridge today actually looks a little bit boring. This wasn't always the case.
It was falling down.
So there was, we'll get to the falling down part, of course. And then what they do is they row up to the pylons holding the bridge, tie ropes around the bridge, and basically pull the bridge. That's why the English don't speak Danish anymore. So London Bridge is falling down is actually the English equivalent of the Marseillaise. You know, it's a big military anthem, but no one quite realizes this as they go.
Fintech companies are increasing everywhere. The investments have increased 5 times in the last 4 years, now around 11 billion a year. And this is disrupting the entire value chain of banking. Not just the payment systems, not just lending with Lending Club and things like that, but the entire value chain, including wealth management, including cryptocurrencies, including investment banking and all. So banks do really have to transform, and we want to be the partners of those that really change.
I think if there were a few areas where we can be really successful in the world and where we can showcase, climate change would be an important space in South Asia where we can actually become pretty much whatever we want to be, center of excellence. The other one, I think where I will emphasize to him is to talk about Bangladesh. I think it's one of the untold stories.
This is stop number 9 on our trip, which on the basis of executive committee decision will be the last stop on our trip, is this bridge here, which is Tower Bridge. And this is why you need a credit department. Now, why do you need a credit department? Because people believe lots of things about London, about the Tower Bridge, none of which happen to be true. Right? So, of the things that people believe about Tower Bridge that are not true are, one, that it's London Bridge. It's not London Bridge. 2, that this is the bridge that fell down. It's not the bridge that fell down. They look at the towers and say, oh, this is really cute. It's medieval, it's Middle Age. No, actually it was built in the 1800s.